Welcome, everybody. Give everybody a little bit more time to join here.
Do a quick comms check.
Yep.
I got you.
Loud and clear.
Okay, guys, well, let's get this started. Welcome to our first kind of live webinar between Frontier Precision Unmanned and Freefly. Hopefully there'll be more to come in the future, but my name is Wyatt Robbins. I am in the business development position at Frontier Precision Unmanned, and I'm joined by a couple experts in this industry who I'll let introduce themselves here.
Sure. I'm Matt Isenbarger, CEO of Freefly Systems, the AltaX team. So I joined the team in November. I'm incredibly excited to be a part of this awesome team at Freefly. We have some incredible products and a great legacy that we've built over the last decade, and I'm really excited to build upon that with Max.
Despite what my name tag says, my name is Max Tubman. I'm the CTO over at the AltaX group. At Freefly, each business unit has its own kind of mini business. So I work with Matt and a terrific team of folks on the AltaX. I was with a company called BFD Systems before. We were acquired by Freefly about a year ago. And since then, our whole East Coast office has become, part of the AltaX team.
Yeah, and Wyatt, I know a lot of the listeners probably know about Frontier Precision, but maybe you can just give us a quick rundown on kind of your business and locations and what you guys focus on.
Yeah, so Frontier Precision has been around for 30 plus years in kind of the survey industry, so providing precision survey equipment all across the country. We have offices all over the West, Florida, Texas, and recently we opened a unmanned division about 5 years ago. And like Max, my company was actually acquired here just under a year ago, Air Supply Aerial, so airsupply.com, kind of a e-commerce platform selling drone products, drone solutions, and yeah, so we've kind of branched out into the e-commerce space, selling drone equipment all across the US, and yeah, excited to be here too. So.
Yeah, we've really loved working with you guys, being experts in the industry. We've just seen so many cool new use cases with our drones, and, having experts like you guys, and especially in the survey and GIS space, has been a huge advantage for us to really try to understand, how customers are using these products and the things that are important to them. So I'm really excited to hear more about some of your feedback today from the field. You're kind of the tip of the spear with a lot of these customers, and working closely with them to integrate this hardware and software and make sure that they have these efficient workflows. So really excited to hear about some more of those stories today.
Yeah, so we're definitely thrilled to be working with Freefly. I remember I guess this was pre-COVID when I first went up to Seattle and visited the Freefly West office, I guess, and kind of just got a feel for what you guys are doing over there. And it's unlike anybody else I've seen in the industry. It's kind of creating this buzz that I was attracted to right away. So super thrilled to be selling your products, but not only selling them, but being able to fly them kind of every day and push the envelope for a lot of our customers, being able to integrate payloads that you couldn't really integrate before, or fly missions you wouldn't have been comfortable with before with AltaX and now Astro. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
we have our East Coast office is a little bit more humble, but if you ever, any of your customers or anyone goes out to do training on the West Coast, it's like Charlie's Drone Factory, or Willy Wonka's Drone Factory. That's what I'm thinking of. It's just a huge space. Everyone's flying little tiny whoops around. There's a ton of really cool engineering. One of the things that Freefly does differently is like the amount of testing. So you could walk in there and there'll be a huge robot arm like slamming gimbals up and down. So it's a really great place. So any of your customers who are doing, doing a factory tour or whatever, it's worth checking out.
Well, I'm excited to see it.
Shameless plug for any awesome engineers out there too. We're hiring like crazy right now, so it's a fun office and a fun place to work.
Yeah, true
Yeah, there
story.
you go. What kind of positions are you guys trying to hire? Let's dive into
Yeah.
that.
We're growing the Alta X team. Actually, a lot of the teams, but obviously Matt and I's focus is on the Alta X. I know Gimbal team, Astro is also growing like crazy. We have a power systems team, but in terms of the Alta X team, we're hiring we're looking for electrical engineers, embedded software engineers, and people who have experience with PX4. We just hired an awesome new test pilot, bunch of new mechanical engineers. So really anyone who's super passionate about the industry should look at our careers page and look at what we have to offer. So
there you go. And likewise, we're also always looking for good UAS pilots, UAS focused people in the industry who kind of have a passion for mapping UAS and drones in general. So Max, I did want to mention, you guys have an interesting kind of thing going where you have each product divided by company, and you kind of touched on it briefly, but would you mind maybe explaining why you guys do that and what makes Freefly so different?
Yeah, like in the past, Freefly has been around for over 10 years. We started with the Movi gimbal, which was one of the first, I think it was the first kind of product that was an open architecture brushless gimbal. So brushless gimbals are basically what all gimbal camera stabilizers are now. And before that, there was some products, but you had to use one specific camera, and the Movi allowed you to use all these different cameras, and that was really a film product. But once they made the Movi, then they moved on to some other products, and the whole engineering team would kind of just hop along to these different products. And we've reached a critical mass now where an engineering team can't just leave Astro, because Astro's so big and we're adding a lot of new features to it. So instead, each product will have its own engineering team, its own CEO, own biz dev people. So that allows us to kind of keep this small company, this nimble team mentality, while we're growing to a much larger team than we ever had before.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see, the trust that the leadership at Freefly has shared with all of the employees, and really pushing that ownership down to the lowest level possible, so that the person closest to the problem can make that decision. We can move as fast as possible that way, make the best decisions that way. And then ultimately we can support our products for the long term, right? Not just build this product and release it and forget about it, but really sustain that product and keep releasing updates and adding new features and doing over-the-air software updates for free for our customers that just make their product even better over time after they bought it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a testament too. Like, we were kind of talking in the lobby before we started this broadcast about how well known Freefly is in the cinema space, right? And kind of, it sounds like going back to that first product, right? Kind of over engineering that. And I assume that's kind of what you guys are trying to do in the drone space too. And so far, it seems like you've proven that.
Yeah, I think we were joking around. Like, we have the Alta X and the older Alta 6 and Alta 8. Those are extremely well known in the film market, and I feel like Freefly has the film market totally locked in. We're expanding now into the industrial market, and we hope to have that same impact. But there's that magic of having a small company and a small engineering team, and that's a hard thing to hold on to as you expand. You don't want to have too many people who can kind of slip through the cracks, or poor work slip through the cracks. So by dividing these teams up, it allows us to kind of keep that magic. It's also kind of fun competition between the Astro team and the Alta team of sales or feature sets and stuff like that. But it also allows for cool collaboration. So, like, if one of the other teams does something that we think is really awesome, that we can kind of incorporate that into the other products. So it's a great structure.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Well, guys, let's hop into a little bit of news. I know you two were at Exponential. How'd that go for you?
I thought it was excellent. The last year's Exponential was not so great, and right. I think we could probably figure out why. The year before I skipped. I think it was just digital. But it was great to see everybody out there. There was a lot of networking events, so that was fun and exhausting. But one of the things that I saw, I kind of talked about this with Aterion on their webcast as well, but the amount of collaboration across companies and standardization across companies, I think is really exciting. And that is going to be much better for manufacturers and mainly customers as well. So that was one of the big themes I saw at Exponential. That and the blue list stuff, which Matt, you can kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we were fortunate to, have the AltaX added to the Defense Innovation Unit's Blue SUAS 2.0 list the week before. We were able to announce that the week before Exponential. So definitely had some great tailwinds going into that. But yeah, I'll echo kind of what you were saying there, Max. It was really refreshing to see a lot of partnership and a lot of collaboration across company lines at Exponential this year, where some of the companies that have been involved in the past have been more closed ecosystems and really tried to just do everything internally and not collaborate across companies. So it was great to see those collaborations really taking some legs and getting going. And then kind of the other side of it was this open standards, so that there's not as much, not as many people wasting time all trying to build the same thing, but there's this open standard where you can say, hey, my product's going to work with somebody else's product if we all kind of do some of the same things. So great to see those open standards being pushed forward, and Freefly's, been a big proponent of that for the last decade, but I'm glad to see everybody else, really adopting those.
Yeah, it was great just to be at a show, with that kind of attendance and not have to wear a mask and kind of feel somewhat normal and get back to regular business.
Well, one thing is, I just want to add one thing to the Exponential is one of the complaints or observations more that we have as a team has seen at past Exponentials is it used to be just like, well, it was all military for a little while, or kind of DoD stuff, big trucks and tanks and stuff, and that was cool. But that's evolved to, at one point, it was like a DJI accessory convention. Like everyone had something that worked on a DJI, and that wasn't that exciting, especially for me. And then it was a lot of people making individual components, whether it was like parachutes or payloads or just different sensors. But every time you talk to somebody, you'd say, oh, you're making this cool thing. Like, does it work with PX4 or ArduPilot or this flight controller? And it seems like no one was talking to each other. So that was frustrating, because we have all these individual components, but how are they going to work together? But to elaborate, now it seems like everyone's starting to talk to each other. Freefly has like our Smart Dovetail, which is an open standard payload bus that Freefly worked with the drone code and PX4 community, as well as some other vendors also contributed to that as well. So to see a bunch of people making that payload that will work on our drones, that also means that our payloads will work on compliant drones of our competitors or other things like that. It just is great for the community.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just having one kind of standard quick release, I guess, for everybody to integrate on and be able to come up with their own payload that'll integrate onto a drone. It'll make your guys' drone stronger. It'll make the community stronger, being able to just use it.
Yeah.
We'll jump into that in a little more depth here in a little bit, and I'll have a gimbal to show off too. But I know we wanted to cover maybe a little bit more of that AltaX Blue. Before I forget, I know you guys have kind of a separate product line item, right? So for any customers that are listening on right now, potentially interested in purchasing a specifically Blue AltaX, Matt, could you maybe just go over what the difference is, if there is any difference, and kind of what that process would look like for those who are interested?
Yeah, sure. So the AltaX Blue Kit is listed on our website now, and so if that's something that you're interested in, you can certainly go, click on that and fill out a couple quick questions, and it'll kind of help guide you to what you actually need. But the nice thing about working with the Defense Innovation Unit in this Blue program is that we have the ability to provide updates quarterly. So we've got a certain configuration right now that's approved, and it's essentially a standard AltaX that you guys fly now with a Blue version of the Cube flight controller in it, and a tablet controller that Max has there in his hands. So the nice thing is that configuration is approved right now and ready to go. But as we release new controller, tablet controller options, or radio options, or add other things to AltaX, those things will be evaluated, obviously, and approved if they're compliant. And so we will have an option here to have a whole host of different configurations around Alta-X based on the customer specific application and what they really care about. So that's kind of the status of it right now. You can go to our website and buy it right now, but just to kind of let everybody know, as updates come around, as someone releases some new camera that's higher megapixel or some new tablet that's better screen brightness or whatever, we can incorporate those items, which is a nice process to have that path forward with the DIU established.
I don't want to get too into the technical weeds or the bureaucratic weeds, however you want to define it, but can we talk a little bit about what Blue UAS is? Because I'm not sure if everyone knows, and also maybe talk about why that's important for certain customers. I don't know if one of you guys want to handle that one to start off anyways.
Yeah, maybe why you could tell us some of your experience of what you're hearing from customers and what they think is important, kind of based on around this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think as this industry kind of expands, we're formalizing a lot of these procedures. So I think a lot of customers are coming and doing larger and larger scale projects, and with that comes government work, maybe something affiliated with government work, and that's just going to require more security, more trust, and kind of just something more reliable. So we've seen a lot of customers who maybe don't even require a Blue system that just have an interest in it going forward because they see that as kind of the future. And a lot of people just wanting to get away from maybe these Chinese made drones, support the US market. So
Sure.
We're seeing kind of a lot more demand, especially in the last few months, for specifically Blue products. So we're very excited that the Alta-X Blue is out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're fortunate to, Freefly is fortunate just to be in a position where we designed this aircraft 3 years ago, as is, and it happened to be compliant. So, that's something that we focused on is, having a local supply chain and quality vendors that we can count on, and obviously the, rigorous testing that we do. So kind of all those things led up to that certification and getting, included in that program. But we're really excited to see, there's 10 other folks that are also in there. We're excited to see their progress and wish them the best of success as well. We want to see this whole industry develop together and move forward together. We don't see it as much as competition. There's so much opportunity out there. We just really want to see the entire industry move forward. So excited to get that certification. There is one other kind of area to highlight, I guess. A lot of people before Blue were talking about NDAA compliance in Section 848. And so those are kind of two different things. So, another thing for customers to kind of think about is who am I, what am I applying this drone for? What is my application? Who are my end customers going to be? And what do they really need? Do they need NDAA compliance, or do they need full Blue certification? And those are some questions, I know you're having and some conversations you're having, Wyatt, with your customers to really make sure they understand they're getting exactly what they need. And there may be some additional cost for stuff that's all U.S. made and manufactured. So something to be considered about as well.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring up another kind of point that time will tell if this becomes normal. But we have an office in Florida, and if you guys aren't familiar, in Florida, it's actually kind of illegal for a government entity to purchase any non-Blue UAS right now. So it has to be on the Blue UAS list to even consider purchasing. So whether more and more states adopt that kind of ideology is really going to have a big impact on the viability of the Blue list as well. So
yeah, we've been tracking that pretty closely, and it sounds like similar legislation is going through the circuits in Wisconsin and Minnesota, Arkansas, potentially some other places as well. So, not going to comment necessarily on whether I think that's the best path forward or not. I'd prefer it to be open and free competition, and people just pick the best drone for the performance to cost ratio. But certainly trying to open up those opportunities as much as we can for folks, and work with them on any of that, those hoops that they have to jump through.
Yep. One of the advantages I see is in the past, if we had certain customers who wanted to work either on federal land or on a federal contract, even if they were private citizens or a private company rather, we would have to fill out waivers to say, here's where all these parts were made, here's what the controller is, and even though it was like the same questions, they were always kind of asked in a different way, so we had to kind of fill these out every single time. And I think that this blue certification is kind of just like, hey, listen, we sent it to the Defense Innovation Unit. They took every little tiny piece apart and they gave it their stamp of approval. So it's kind of a third party body looked at this and said it's approved. It's just going to make some of those waiver processes so much easier, because although it's kind of a pain for us as a manufacturer to fill out all these waivers, it was even harder for the customers, especially if you have a job coming up in like 2 weeks. Now you have to fill out a waiver. So I do think that we're in Blue 2.0, so it's like the second round, and we're still the guinea pigs for this process. So that's the advantage for us, is we're in early. The disadvantage is we're kind of figuring out as we go with the government. But I do think that this is going to become a lot more streamlined for other vendors too, and this will be, I think, make it a lot easier to kind of level set. Here's what the rules are of what drones are safe to use for the federal government for data security and other supply chain issues. So I'm really excited about the whole process and see how it evolves, and hopefully it becomes a lot easier for other folks to get their drones blue certified in the future as well. Because it took us about 1.5 years. So
yeah, anything the government can do to streamline their processes is good in our shoes. So we're excited to see this process get more efficient.
Yeah.
Any word on Astro on the blue list? Can you share anything about that? We're
working on it. It's going through the process.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a long process. So because the Alta X has been out for a little bit longer, so it's easier to start the process with the Alta X first. But the Astro is in the process as well. So we fully anticipate that we'll get through.
I believe you will too. Hoping for it. Speaking of the Astro, I think there was some news, maybe a status update on that as well.
Yeah, I think Matt, you want
shipping units?
Yeah,
now,
so
correct?
Astro Base has been shipping, but we're launching Astro Map, which is the Freefly gimbal with the Sony A7R4 attached and balanced for you right out of the box. So it's an incredible, mapping kit that comes with everything you need to get going and flying right out of the box, and take incredible high resolution imagery. That 61 megapixel imager on that Sony camera is ridiculous. The team has been making some maps and models and sharing them in our internal Slack, and I've just been drooling over these different maps and models. So really excited to see what your customers do with them and some of the cool deliverables.
Yeah, we've got our base unit hanging back here. I think we have a map unit in the back. And we're excited to start shipping out all the ones that our customers have ordered, and any customers who are interested in one, we should be shipping them as well. So really excited to get that out. I know I've flown it a handful of times, and the first time I flew the Astro, I was pretty blown away with just, frankly, the handling, like how well it responds to control, and just how smooth it flies in the air. We've done a couple just test mapping missions, and it's rather majestic in the air as you're doing your grid pattern, right? And it perfectly rounds the corners, just as you kind of expect to see on a DJI system.
Yeah. One of the things that's exciting about the Astro, well, there's lots of things that are exciting about the Astro, but as we kind of alluded to earlier, Freefly has traditionally been doing drones for cinema industry. And what that looked like was you'd have a drone and then you have a separate gimbal that we also made, but they're completely independent. Like there's one person operating the camera and one person operating the drone, and there wasn't a lot of integration between the two. And that's just kind of how it works in that industry. And we're making those, the Alta Pro and then the Alta X have changed that a little bit. They have more integration capability, but the Astro is like a monumental leap forward. It's the amount of tightly integrated components on that is just exponentially a huge leap. From the smart batteries, which are, I'm almost more excited about the batteries than anything, because there are going to be so many different use cases for those batteries aside from drones. But from the smart batteries, the smart dovetail, just all the I/O on the bottom, it's going to make, obviously integrating this this A7R camera will be great, but other payloads as well that we haven't released yet, or that third-party vendors will do integration on. So
Yeah, it's got built-in RTK, PPK, LTE for cellular connectivity, all sorts of really cool stuff, and how well it's integrated. And then, that's just on the hardware side. On the software side, we're partnering with all sorts of folks to make those workflows really efficient. So I know Frontier Precision works closely with Esri as well as we do, and on their site scan products. So, that kind of whole, from the beginning, from mission map mission planning all the way through your collection and then post processing, is just kind of that whole easy workflow that people have come to want and desire out of these products. I got a Astro battery here with me just to show you form factor and kind of what they look like, and our smart integrated LED screen there with some of the cool different features that you can easily click on and see cycles, how many charges you've had, battery health, temperature, all sorts of fun stuff.
And I got one too.
That's a big deal, right? You guys are making the batteries in-house.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We're making these. I'm so excited. I'm sorry. We're making these batteries in-house, but also this is going to be an open standard as well, so that just like the smart dovetail, we use our own CAN bus, Freefly CAN, which is part of the open battery standard. So other folks, either whether they're making drones or other battery operated stuff, like they could take this CAD and use these batteries for their own products as well. So we're really excited about that. But yeah, these are all manufactured in Washington State. So that's really exciting. And
I love to use them for charging my laptop, because I'm always on the go and my laptop's always dying, and Max is trying to video chat me and my battery's out.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they have a USB-C. I think it's 65 watts. Maybe it's going to be 100 watts in the near future. Maybe. Don't quote me on the wattage, but it has a high power USB-C output, so you can charge any of your personal devices there. So there's some more innovations coming from the power team, different types of batteries and so forth. So this is really exciting in itself. Just this open standard battery is really cool. And because it's made by Freefly, means it's a very high standard of the level of testing that goes into it. So there's people out there at Freefly West where they're working on these, doing the testing, just spraying these things down, seeing if they can get them to eject, dropping them from super high up. So they're tough batteries, and it kind of fits into the whole world's toughest drone ecosystem mentality that we have. So
you guys are trying to destroy them in hopes of making better.
Yeah, that's a fun part of the job.
We want to destroy them so our customers don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned Esri site scan, so that's a pretty big deal. As you mentioned, Frontier has a relationship with Esri. We're actually a gold partner with them, so with any luck here in the near future, we'll be able to also offer Esri site scan for the Astro, kind of all in one spot. So pretty excited about that as well. See on the list there, Gremsy did come out with a couple new gimbals. We've been talking about this smart dovetail and how it's going to be kind of hopefully this new universal quick release. So Gremsy came out with a couple gimbals, not to plug your competitor there, you guys, but
no, it's great that they came out with these. I love it.
Yeah, so they have the smart dovetail here that is plug and play with the Astro, and with a little bit more time, we should be able to integrate a lot of payloads to the Astro as well with kind of full control. So we've already done some testing with the MicaSense Red Edge P, working on the WorksWell integration, and I know you guys are as well.
Yeah.
And also working on getting a dovetail for our Yellow Scan Mapper and Mapper Plus to be able to easily swap out multiple payloads all on one drone.
Yeah. Yeah, to kind of go off like, you're saying Grimsey's our competitor, but to me, this is part of the open standard that's the most exciting. Is at Freefly, the gimbals that we're working on, at least for right now, are really tightly integrated. So you have there's no wires hanging out, and it's really like whole gimbal package is a finished product. But for some people who want to do just kind of a quick and dirty integration, that Grimsey gimbal is like a perfect opportunity for them to do that. You know, add some camera that we haven't done a tight integration with. The Grimsey could be a good alternative. So I'm really excited about that Grimsey.
I think you guys mentioned you're working on a Workswell integration as well.
Yeah, Workswell has a new camera, which I don't think they've actually released it yet. There's some photos floating around from some of their trade shows, but it basically it has a zoom camera, the thermal camera, and a laser rangefinder. So the reason the laser rangefinder is good is because you can geo-reference photos. So if you're pointing down and you see a hiker, for example, in search and rescue, you can say, this is the geolocation of this, this picture. So that can kind of send that information to other folks. Or if you're doing mapping or inspection, say you're taking a picture of a isolator on a high tension wire, you can say, this picture was taken here, and the drone might be over here. So that's important, kind of, but really you want to know not the georeference of the drone, but where the photo is taken. So that laser rangefinder helps with that. So we're doing a tight integration with or we're working on a tight integration with that new Workswell.
Awesome. And kind of like you mentioned with your tight integration with the Sony A7 for the Astro map, I mean, that's a huge deal in and of itself, just being able to have kind of full access to that Sony camera, which frankly, I don't think anybody else in the industry really has that mastered quite like you guys do.
Yeah. I haven't used the Sony AirPeak, but I think that we did a pretty good job. But to be able to do that, you have to be able to work with the Sony SDK, I believe. So to be able to get into the software of the camera so that you can control all the settings from your hand controller is not a simple task. One of the things that I've noticed from the company I used to be with, where we were doing a lot of custom R&D and integrations, is people just come to expect consumer products just to work perfectly and everything just talks to each other. But what a lot of people don't realize is that's actually really, really hard to do. And I think that Freefly and the Astro gimbal team has done a terrific job at making this, not a drone with a camera and a gimbal, but one mapping package. This is one system that just seamlessly kind of flows together and works really well.
Yeah, and you kind of brushed on some of these more custom integrations, and I think that's a good segue into a little more of what you guys are working on the Alta X specifically, and kind of how our relationship maybe operates on a more day-to-day basis, because we're doing a lot of these custom integrations alongside you guys on the Alta X. Do you guys have any maybe cool customer integrations you can talk about or anything like that?
Well, yeah, certainly. I should note that we used to do that a lot, and now we've kind of pulled back. Like in the beginning, our office was Freefly integrations, and we were really just focused on integrating custom payloads. But we saw that there was a need to really grow the Alta X team quickly, so we became, the Alta X team, or we were absorbed by the Alta X team. So we're not doing a ton of integrations now. We're calling people like you to do them.
Right.
And you're doing a great job, so keep it up.
Yeah.
But some of the integrations that I've seen, we have a customer that does control burns for fires. I think it's called the Ignis, and that is like one of the cooler ones that I've seen, just because of the real life impact it has on forest management rather. So that's really cool. And also the yellow scan, which I think is the yellow scan integration you guys did, is beautiful. Yeah. We actually had made these 12 millimeter rail spacers to go in the cargo landing gear as a prototype, and you guys took it and ran with it. So I think that's one of the nicer integrations I've seen too.
I think we might get the award for the best Alta X picture if you guys give out awards for that.
We do. It's in the mail actually.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
I was gonna say there's a lot of little accessories we'll be coming out with too to make it easier to mount GNSS antennas, and there's a lot of little bips and bops like that. But for right now, we're leaning on people like Frontier to do these integrations, and then ultimately the goal is what we're working on, is making the AltX easier for customers to do it themselves, or for you guys to do it. So that's our focus right now.
Yeah, and I think that's our goal too, is just to be able to offer kind of a payload, a drone, software, everything all in one place. So a customer can come to us and ask for a custom integration, or maybe they already have a payload that they want put on to their Alta, or they already have an Alta and they want to get a payload to put onto it. And we kind of can bridge the gap there to make just about anything work. And you guys have been a great help for that. And I know you're working on a lot of cool kind of new integrations and new, I would say, upgrades to the Alta X. Like, for instance, I think new landing gear, I was told, is coming out sometime, maybe this year, which could be pretty beneficial. What else?
Yeah. Well, I'll kind of touch on the landing gear. We are working on kind of a skid landing gear. Right now, we have a couple different options, but the skid landing gear would mount to the actual chassis of the drone, and then also have mounting rails, which a lot of people are accustomed to from the M600. So this will make moving those integrations forward a little bit easier. It'll make landing in unstable or windy areas a lot easier too. So that's an exciting project, but it's still kind of in prototype phase right now. We are going to be updating the motors very soon. We've been working on that since November, but that will go public pretty soon. Well, I guess it's going public right now, but we'll be kind of launching those pretty soon. And that's a new and improved motor. So excited about that. And then probably the biggest impact on the Alta X user group will be a new software that we've been working on. And this will allow, it basically changes the velocity control. So right now in position mode, in the Alta X is trying to control its velocity when you're giving it stick inputs, and this will kind of change it where you're controlling the angle of the drone, which might be too complicated to grasp, but the basic impact of that is it flies much smoother in position mode. It allows for smooth turns in position mode, or way smoother turns. So for people doing like magnetometer surveys, we have a dangling payload. That's critical. You need to have that. Even with LiDAR, having those smooth turns will be really important. So I can see my software engineer over there cooking away, and we're expecting to launch that run really soon. And I think that will have a huge impact. Really excited for that one.
Awesome.
I don't know if we it might be a good segue into Altifest.
Yeah.
Put you on the spot there, Max. We gonna have it ready for Altifest?
Oh yeah. Well, it's really putting Joe, the software engineer who sits over there, on the spot. But yeah, we'll have it won't be launched by Altifest, which would have been really swell. But we have to do a ton of testing, so it's not gonna be ready for that. However, if you're at Altifest, you'll be able to see it. If you give me a high five, maybe we'll let you fly it. But definitely you'll be able to see the difference in how it looks even. It flies so much better. So that's a big improvement. And then just generally, what is Altifest? So Altifest is just going to be a big party where anyone is welcome to come. It is a free event. It's in New Jersey, near our office here in New Jersey. I think we are expecting about 150 people. Have a food truck. Wyatt will be there, so that's a good reason.
We'll be there.
We got a bunch of different LiDAR vendors. Phase One, Headwall, who does a hyperspectral camera, will be there. Drone Amplify, which does the control burn payload, they'll be there. So it's really just an opportunity for customers to come hang out, see the drones fly, get a lot of people exposed to the Alta X who are not exposed yet. Knock out all these demos kind of in one fell swoop, and then also get feedback and hopefully have a good time as well. And the vendors will be doing presentations as well to say, Phoenix LiDAR will be one of the vendors kind of showing off how their software works and everything else like that.
So that's next Thursday, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, next week.
A week from today, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm excited for that one. That'll be a good time.
Yeah. It is Altifest, but we will be flying Astro as well for anybody that wants to see Astro and make some really awesome maps.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'll be outdoors. We got some, we'll have some vendor tables and hopefully have swarms of drones flying all day.
And then for us, so like they said, I'll be out there next week. If you're going to be there, please stop and say hey. I'm excited for Altifest. But in June, we have Energy Drone. So Frontier has a booth number 406. That's in Houston. So if any of you guys in kind of the oil gas inspection industry, feel free to stop by, talk about Freefly or anything else. And then after that, Esri User Conference in July in San Diego. I don't know that I'll be there, but Frontier will have a booth, I think booth number 708. And I think you guys might have a presence there as well.
Yeah, sounds like we will.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we're about 20 minutes left in time. Maybe we open this up for a few questions from the audience there.
I'd love that. If there's any questions. One of the things like I'd like to say just kind of about like the trade shows and the Altifest is, they kind of fit two different niches, but I'm hopeful that we see more of these live event demos. Matt, you went to the Texas Robotics Show, which I didn't go to, but it looked awesome. But the idea of like being outside and seeing these things operating instead of, just talking about it at a trade show booth, which has value as well, to me, I think is the future. So hopefully we do a bunch more of these events as well.
Yeah,
and other
I think
folks do it.
a whole lot more impactful when you can go out there and people put their hands on the machines and fly them around and understand the workflows and if it's going to work for them or not. So we're going to try to host as many as of these type of events as we can. Both we're doing on the East Coast with our East Coast office this time, but we'll host it out on the West Coast and we'll pick some in the middle states as well in the future.
Be Astrofest next.
Astrofest next.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
anyway.
I don't see any questions in the chat box here. Maybe we'll give it a minute or two more, but we might hop out of here a little early, you guys, unless there's anything else you want to cover.
Nothing to think of. Sure, as soon as we hang up, I'll think of like a dozen things, but.
Yeah, no, there's lots of exciting things going on in the industry right now. I'm certainly love to hear from you, Wyatt, and appreciate you being kind of at the bleeding edge there, listening to these customers and hearing their challenges and figuring out solutions. So certainly appreciate you putting this together for us and sharing some of your insights into the industry and look forward to continuing this fruitful partnership. Yeah,
well, I'm very happy to be chatting with you guys as well. Always enjoy working with you guys, and anybody listening, if you have any questions, after this event, please reach out. We're happy to put something together. So, and for those of you going to be at Altifest next week, looking forward to see it.
Excellent.
Sounds good. We'll see you there.
Hey, we'll see you guys. Thanks for watching.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for having us.